They don't just live on the streets, they survive them. Each night, the homeless of Michigan battle freezing winds, hunger, and a city that pretends they don't exist. Sleep isn't rest. It's a gamble. Will the cold take them first, or will the cops come to erase them? No shelter, no safety, no second chances. This isn't just homelessness. It's a fight to stay alive. This version focuses entirely on the homeless experience, making it raw, urgent, and deeply personal. Let me know if you'd like a different direction or further refinement. Welcome to Globe Path Travel Documentary, where reality isn't filtered and truth refuses to stay buried. Michigan streets hold a secret that never makes the headlines. Beneath the city's glow, behind the everyday rush, thousands fight for survival in a world that has erased them. You won't see them in tourist brochures. You won't hear their stories on the news. But they are everywhere. Under bridges, curled up on footpaths, hiding inside abandoned buildings, battling the elements with nothing but a worn-out blanket and a fading hope. And it's not just poverty, it's erasure. Every morning, tent cities disappear overnight. Not because people found homes, but because police raids dismantled their only shelter. No warning, no mercy. Personal belongings destroyed, medication tossed aside, their very existence scrubbed from view. The system doesn't protect them. It hides them. As shelters overflow, desperation takes hold. Drugs become an escape, not for pleasure, but for survival. Meth numbs the cold. Alcohol silences the hunger. Fentanyl offers the closest thing to rest they'll ever get. And mental illness? It spirals unchecked, untreated, ignored. We've been told this crisis is under control. We've been told that reforms are coming. We've been told that things will change. But behind the headlines, the truth remains buried. Today, we unearth the forgotten battle for dignity. Today, we step into Michigan's homeless hell, the untold chapter cops tried to erase. Are you ready to see what they don't want you to see? Number 1. Life on the streets, the daily struggle to survive. Where do you sleep when you have no home? Michigan's homeless crisis has worsened in 2025, pushing thousands into the streets with nowhere to go. Each night is a battle against hunger, cold, and the looming threat of violence. Footpaths, alleyways, abandoned buildings. These places have become homes for those who have lost everything, not by choice, but by a system that has failed them. For many, the cold concrete of a sidewalk is the only bed they have. Wrapped in scraps of fabric, newspapers, or whatever they can find, they close their eyes knowing that sleep is dangerous. They may be robbed, attacked, or forced to move by the police before dawn. In winter, the temperatures drop low enough to turn sleep into a deadly risk. Some never wake up. Abandoned buildings offer the illusion of shelter, but they are far from safe. The walls are crumbling, the air is thick with mold, and inside, the darkness hides more than just people seeking refuge. Gangs and criminals prey on those who have nowhere else to go. Survival in these places means constant vigilance, knowing that a single misstep could cost them everything. For families, their last resort is often their car. A back seat becomes a child's bedroom, a passenger seat, the resting place for exhausted parents. They park in gas stations, hoping no one notices. Some move between storage units, paying for a small space just big enough to stretch out on a floor littered with broken belongings. They call it home because they have no other option. Beneath the city, underground tunnels house the truly desperate. Hidden from view, these spaces are damp, dangerous, and suffocating. When rain comes, they flood without warning. Fires built for warmth fill the air with smoke, choking those forced to live in the shadows. But even there, it is better than the streets. Sleep is not rest. It is a gamble. Every night they ask themselves the same questions. Will the cold take them? Will the police clear them out? Will someone attack them for the few things they own? Homelessness is more than losing a roof over your head. It is losing safety, dignity, and the right to simply exist. Number 2, drugs and mental health, the epidemic. No one wants to fix. In 2025, Michigan continues to face challenges related to homelessness, mental health, and substance dependence. Every day, individuals who have lost their homes navigate difficult circumstances, searching for stability in an environment that offers limited resources. Without access to permanent shelter, healthcare, and consistent support systems, many turn to temporary solutions that often have long-term consequences. Substance dependence is not simply a matter of addiction. For many experiencing homelessness, it is a response to overwhelming conditions. With the absence of secure housing and medical treatment, individuals often rely on available substances to manage chronic stress, physical pain, and the psychological toll of prolonged instability. Some use stimulants to stay awake, avoiding potential threats during the night. Others turn to substances that temporarily numb the discomfort of extreme weather and uncertainty. Mental health remains an area requiring greater attention. Many individuals experiencing homelessness face conditions such as depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. These challenges are compounded by difficulties accessing medical care, with limited availability of psychiatric services and rehabilitation programs. Outreach efforts aim to provide emergency assistance, but long-term solutions remain a complex issue that requires collaboration between government agencies, community organizations, and healthcare providers. Efforts continue to be made toward addressing these issues through policy improvements, housing initiatives, and expanded healthcare services. Programs designed to support rehabilitation and mental health treatment provide essential pathways to recovery, while shelters and assistance centers work to connect individuals with resources that promote stability. Ensuring that all individuals have access to care, support, and housing remains an ongoing priority for organizations advocating for change. By acknowledging these challenges, communities and policymakers work toward sustainable solutions that promote dignity, recovery, and reintegration into stable living conditions. Continued discussions around accessible housing, public health interventions, and comprehensive support services will shape efforts to improve outcomes for those facing homelessness and related difficulties. Number 3. Police raids erased overnight. In 2025, temporary encampments have become a refuge for many individuals experiencing homelessness in Michigan. These makeshift communities offer a sense of security, a place to gather resources, and a network of support. However, maintaining these spaces has become increasingly difficult due to policies aimed at regulating public areas. Local enforcement teams conduct routine operations to clear encampments, citing concerns over health risks and public safety. These removals often happen swiftly, leaving residents with little time to gather their belongings before being relocated. Medications, identification papers, and essential survival items are sometimes lost in the process, creating additional challenges for those affected. While businesses and city officials advocate for stricter regulations on public sleeping and encampments, organizations focused on homelessness relief continue to work toward providing alternative solutions. Shelters, outreach programs, and affordable housing initiatives aim to support individuals displaced by these removals. Discussions around policy reforms and community assistance continue, highlighting the complexities of managing homelessness in urban spaces. Efforts to address homelessness remain a collaborative challenge, requiring cooperation between advocacy groups, policymakers, and social support networks to find sustainable, long-term solutions for those in need. Number 4. The fight for change. Activism, legislation, and resistance. As Michigan's homelessness crisis continues into 2025, the fight for change has become more urgent than ever. While thousands struggle to find shelter, activists, lawmakers, and community organizations refuse to stay silent, pushing for real solutions in the face of overwhelming challenges. But change is slow, and for those living on the streets, time is running out. The proposed Homeless Bill of Rights stands as a beacon of hope. Legislation aimed at ensuring protections for displaced individuals, granting them access to safe housing, health care, and legal safeguards against discrimination. This could redefine how cities treat homelessness, shifting the conversation from punishment to human dignity and recovery. Yet political battles continue to stall progress. Some officials argue that policy changes require longer-term economic strategies, while advocates insist that change cannot wait when people are dying in the cold. For many experiencing homelessness, government responses feel like empty promises. Discussions take place, reports are written, but where are the solutions when people are sleeping in storage units and cars? While laws are debated, community-led initiatives step up where government programs struggle. Independent shelters, food programs, and emergency aid organizations work tirelessly to provide relief. Local outreach teams distribute meals, medical assistance, and temporary housing, keeping hope alive for those who feel abandoned by the system. New housing models are also gaining traction. Tiny home villages and modular housing projects present innovative solutions designed to give people a chance at stability without traditional long-term housing barriers. But these initiatives face roadblocks. Funding challenges, zoning restrictions, and slow approval processes delay their widespread implementation. A homelessness advocate puts it bluntly, "We don't need conversations, we need action." How many more winters before people freeze to death waiting for a solution? Cities across the country are experimenting with alternative housing strategies, seeking ways to balance public safety and economic development with the urgent need for solutions. The debate continues. Will lawmakers move beyond discussions and commit to lasting change, or will this crisis keep growing behind closed doors? For Michigan's homeless, change is not just necessary, it's a matter of survival. Absolutely. Here are a few personal stories that reflect the harsh realities of homelessness in Michigan. Stories of survival, loss, and resilience. Lisa's story. A mother's last shelter. Lisa never imagined she would end up sleeping in a car with her 6-year-old daughter. Just 2 years ago, she had a stable job, a rented apartment, and plans to buy a home. But a sudden medical emergency drained her savings, and when she lost her job, her rent became impossible to pay. She remembers the first night in her car. Her daughter cried, asking when they could go home. Lisa had no answer. Each night she parked near gas stations, using their restrooms to freshen up before taking her daughter to school. "I tell her it's a camping trip," Lisa says, forcing a smile. She still believes me. She sought shelter assistance but was placed on a waiting list. With Michigan's shelters beyond capacity, Lisa learned survival meant adapting. She works small jobs during the day, saving what little she earns for food. "I can live like this, but she shouldn't have to," she says, holding her daughter close. Mike's story. Addiction as an escape. Mike had never touched drugs before he lost his home. He once worked at an auto factory, earning enough to support himself. But when automation replaced his job, he struggled to find work. The eviction notice arrived months later, forcing him onto the streets. At first, he resisted. He tried sleeping on sidewalks, moving between shelters when possible. But the hunger, the cold, it got worse. "I needed something to make the nights shorter," he says. That's when he was offered fentanyl by another displaced man. "I took it, just to sleep." Months passed, and Mike barely recognized himself. Drugs numbed the pain, but they didn't fix it. He wants to get clean, but rehab centers require permanent addresses, something he doesn't have. People say addiction is a choice. They should try living out here first, he says. Jordan's story. Surviving alone. Jordan aged out of the foster system at 18 with nowhere to go. With no family to turn to and no financial support, she tried applying for jobs but lacked an address to include on applications. Without stable housing, every rejection pushed her deeper into despair. With nowhere else to turn, she found shelter in abandoned houses, moving from place to place to avoid being noticed. I kept thinking someone would help, she says. No one did. She eventually made a support network with others experiencing homelessness, but resources were scarce. She sleeps in subway tunnels when the nights get too cold, waking up before security forces arrive. I don't know what's worse, feeling invisible or wishing I was. Will Michigan wake up? Homelessness in Michigan has long been a pressing issue, but by 2025, it has escalated into a humanitarian crisis that can no longer be ignored. What was once seen as a societal challenge has now become a battle for survival, justice, and visibility. Across the state, thousands are left without shelter, forced into dangerous conditions with limited resources and diminishing hope. For decades, conversations around homelessness have taken place. Policy proposals have been drafted, and temporary assistance programs have emerged. But long-term solutions remain elusive. Shelters are overwhelmed, mental health support is scarce, and affordable housing remains inaccessible for those who need it most. While cities have explored alternatives, including transitional housing and reform initiatives, the number of displaced individuals continues to rise. The crisis is no longer just about those affected. It is about how society chooses to respond. Will the system continue to push the problem out of sight, enforcing restrictions that make survival even harder? Or will policymakers, communities, and organizations come together to implement lasting change? Efforts by activists, outreach workers, and independent programs have proven that solutions exist. Programs aimed at providing safe housing, mental health care, and employment pathways are gaining traction, but without strong legislative backing and sustained funding, they remain limited in scope. This crisis is no longer an issue that can be postponed. It is an urgent matter requiring action, awareness, and commitment. The system can either continue down the path of displacement and neglect, or recognize the humanity of those affected, ensuring they are no longer overlooked. The question remains, will Michigan wake up, or will these lives continue to be forgotten? Every story deserves to be heard. Every struggle deserves to be seen. Michigan's homelessness crisis is not just numbers. It's lives caught in an unforgiving system, searching for dignity, for safety, for hope. If we stop looking away, if we demand change, then the cycle of displacement, neglect, and survival can finally be broken. But awareness is just the beginning. Real change starts with action. If you want to see more stories like this, if you believe in exposing the truth and sharing voices that have been silenced, then subscribe to Globe Path Travel Documentary. Together, we can uncover the realities others ignore. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and be part of the journey that refuses to forget.